Hitting, kicking, crying, screaming. Exactly how have we managed to calmly reduce meltdowns in children across our residential children's homes, within the foster care system, and our schools? Let's look at how we effectively manage a meltdown using neuroscience. I'm Danielle Douglas, a behaviour and neuroscience specialist, and we are working with over 87 countries around the world, supporting 60,000 people and making behaviour management easy using neuroscience. Our behaviour planner was Education Book of the Year 2025 finalist, and we've just been nominated for another award. If you haven't already checked out our free resources, then check them out. We also have a video library here on YouTube for you. And if you like this video, you might find this video interesting as well. The Behaviour Brains children's book is out now, and this can help children learn and understand about their behaviour brains, how to manage and how to switch them. So you are wondering about meltdowns, you're wondering about those crisis, upset, crying behaviours. And over the last 15 years, we have learned the neuroscience behind how to manage them calmly across our residential children's homes with teenagers, foster care children, and with thousands and thousands of children within schools. So let's take a look at exactly what we can do. Managing a meltdown. When a child is kicking, screaming, crying, shouting, they are sitting in their emotional brain. This part of the brain is called the amygdala. Now, within the amygdala, children cannot listen, think, process, or learn. So every time when we're saying, don't do that, we don't do that, we don't hit, we don't kick, stop doing that, the children are not listening. This is the amygdala, and his job is to keep you safe. He is our fight, flight, or freeze brain. He is the survival brain. Now, when a child is in meltdown or in upset, crisis, arguing, shouting behaviors, the children switch to the amygdala. Now, the amygdala's job is to keep the child safe, it's to keep us alive. Our amygdala brain is our internal alarm system, and that part of the brain will do whatever it can to keep us alive. The problem is the amygdala cannot decide between real or not real danger, so he sees everything as a threat. So often when children go into meltdown crisis behaviours, they don't understand that those behaviours of the meltdown and the crisis aren't often reflective of what is actually happening or the situation that they are in. He will alarm us and make us fight, flight, or freeze for anything that he deems a threat. You can read more about the amygdala and the children's behaviour brains in our Children's Behaviour Brains book. So what can we do, and how do we get the children from the amygdala? What we need to do is get the children from the amygdala into the prefrontal cortex. Now, our prefrontal cortex brain is the thinking, listening, and rational brain. She is the one that we are using when we are learning, thinking, and processing. So we need to switch the brain from the amygdala into the prefrontal cortex, and we can do this in a few different ways. We can switch the child's brain from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex by doing things like questioning, distraction, exercise, and problem solving. And what we ideally need to do is switch the child's brain as quickly as possible. Something that we use within our children's residential children's homes, foster care children, and within schools, we use something called the 3 Whys. Now, really quickly, to try and diffuse a situation or diffuse a behavior or a meltdown, we need to think that we need to pull the child's brain from the amygdala into the prefrontal cortex using the different ways that we described. Now, we use something called the 3 Whys, and this helps us communicate with the child and try and pull their brain from the amygdala. Using the 3 Whys, we ask the children 3 questions, and this is never related to the behaviour. The behaviour that they are displaying, we don't comment on that at the time. We would go back to the behaviour and the way that they were displaying those behaviours at a different time, because remember, in the amygdala, children are not listening, thinking, or processing. Using the 3 Whys, we can ask children questions such as, do you need a drink? Are you safe? Are you hurt? Now, what happens is when we are asking children these questions, it is pulling their brain out of the amygdala. I recently had a girl brought to me within my classroom, and she was in complete crisis behaviour. She'd been brought to me from year one, screaming, hitting, crying, spitting, and nobody could get her to talk or to explain what was happening. Now, what I did when the little girl was brought to me and brought in my classroom, I could have said, don't do that. We don't hit. We don't kick. Please don't pull my display board down. But instead, I didn't do that. I reminded myself that I am safe, moved myself from my own amygdala into my own prefrontal cortex, and then asked her 3 questions. Are you safe? The first time she was a little bit confused, like, why is she asking me a question? What should, yes. Are you hurt? Again, that threw her off what was going on and what was happening, because she had to really think about the fact that, well, am I hurt? It also took her by surprise because she wasn't expecting me to use that approach or those comments on her behaviour. She was expecting me to say, don't do that, we don't do that. This causes the brain to think because they're having to problem solve. And then I asked her, do you want a drink? Now, that could have gone badly because in hindsight, she could have picked it up and thrown it, but she wanted a drink, she had a drink, and that diffused the situation. By using the 3 whys, we can bring the children's brain very quickly from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. What else can we do and what else can we use? We've been using something called quick behaviour reset cards, and we've used these again in our residential children's homes, foster care, and within schools. These are a pack of cards that we have that we can use to quickly reset children's behaviour, to pull them from the amygdala into the prefrontal cortex. Now, it does not mean that when we do this, we completely ignore or bypass any of the behaviours that they've done. We then go back and we do our mistake retake with the children, discussing the behaviour that they displayed and speaking about what we would do next time and how that behaviour is not appropriate. At this point, we are not letting the children off from their behaviour. We're not saying that those children can behave in any way that we want them to or that they want. What we are saying is at that moment in time, the children are not thinking, they're not listening, they're not processing. So anything you do or say in that moment is completely irrelevant and will not stick and will not change their behaviours. So what we need to do is quickly pull the children out of the amygdala into the prefrontal cortex, and that is where we can then talk to them about their behaviours, behaviour for next time, and what we can do to change. If you would like to know more information about children's behaviour brains, check out our Children Behaviours Brains book. We also have an adult version of this called Understanding Children's Behaviour Brains, the amygdala versus the prefrontal cortex. And if you would like to talk about behaviour, I'm Danielle Douglas. Let's talk behaviour.